$500 is a lot of money. However, that is until you're speaking about Pokemon cards, and then that perception changes pretty quickly. That's why in this video, I want to go over how I'd spend $500 in the current market. Now, I am talking about 500 USD here because I just have viewers from all across the globe, whether it be Germany, the UK, Malaysia. I mean, the hobby is so global, so I just feel that USD is the easiest for everyone. Now, $500 is big money. In any other hobby, you are spoiled for choice with that much money. But when it comes to Pokemon cards, you'd be surprised how quickly that can get eaten up. And it's funny because I remember looking at Pokemon Coliseum on the GameCube and it was selling for around 100 USD at the time. And I remember people online were just complaining about the crazy prices of that. And I was just sitting there and I was thinking, wait, man, that's actually cheap, and I didn't get the sticker shock for that. And that's when it hit me how desensitized I've become to collectible prices, and honestly, that's all thanks to the crazy prices of Pokemon cards. So I suppose in this video, I'll go over the market, and I'm gonna see how far $500 can get me and what I'd personally buy. I know it goes without saying, but I probably should say it, especially due to the size of my audience, but I just wanna be very clear that this is what I'd spend my money on. Pokemon prices change very quickly, and by no way do I think that these prices are just gonna rise indefinitely. This is just a fun video that I'm making, and I just want to get that out of the way. But I mean, I kind of suppose that if you want to know my thought process behind this, I'd personally love to get some sealed product. I'd really love a few singles. Maybe a graded slab. The crazy part is when you're working with $500, my options get pretty limited. I have to be pretty picky. I can't just buy whatever cards I want. I have to really be strategic with this, and you're gonna see my thought process behind it. All right, $500 dues. No, USD, not dollary dues. Probably, what is that in dollary dues? Let me check this out. Here we go, 500. That is $702 dues. Look, I really want to get I want to get a decent collection happening here, but I want to also, I kind of am thinking, hey, you know, I want a bit of growth here, but you never know how that's going to happen. So I want to do some research on what cards I would want with this. And I'm just looking so far. There's so much cool cards out there at the moment, so much cool sealed product, but also, like I said at the start of the video, $500, I don't know how far that's going to get me as well, but I just want to show kind of my thought process of how I'd spend $500 in today's market. So I'm just thinking the first thing I want to kind of get out the way is probably, let's hope, a graded slab. I mean, I love my graded slabs. Now, in terms of this, I want it to be a Pokemon card that I love. Sorry, a Pokemon that I love. And I also want it to be PSA 10 because I love, if you do know, if you're going to be purchasing collectibles, it's pretty important that you buy it in PSA 10 if you can. That's just a thing that I've kind of always stuck to because there is a compounding effect that happens with PSA 10s. If it is within your budget, it usually does over the long term work out. So let's go find what PSA 10 I can get in the current market. I'm actually going to be looking at Groudon cards. So this is a pretty cool site because it shows you all the Groudon cards ever created. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on for the rarity. And so we can see I filtered it for the rarity, and we can see some real, oh man, there is some sick cards that have been released for Groudon. Here, wow, oh yeah. Oh, wow, okay. Ooh, Primal Groudon there. What is that going to set me back? Oh, Groudon Paradox Rift illustration. Am I going to be that boring? Yes, I am. Absolutely, I am. Let's see what that's going for. All right, here I'm on the Groudon from Paradox Rift. Currently selling in the market for a raw copy for $102. Let's see what the PSA 10 selling for. And I'm just looking at the PSA 10, and the PSA 10 is currently set for $502. What? When did that go to that price? What? I didn't even know that. What? There you go. So, okay, so the card I actually wanted, there you go, my budget would be gone. I did not expect that so early to happen. Okay, that's crazy. Wow, okay, so Groudon is a $500 card in PSA 10, but look at that, it was even more expensive. It was $623. I did not know that. Okay, so there you go. The PSA 10 is actually 5 times more expensive than the raw copy. It must have really hard gem mate chances. All right, so moving on to the next one. All right, let's go into another Pokemon. One of my favorite Pokemons ever is Celebi. Let's see what we got there. I'm just looking at all these Celebi cards. Like I can see these ones here. They're just gonna be way, a lot of these are out of budget, the vintage ones. But you know, if I am looking at one that I would like, it definitely is the Celebi V from Fusion Strike as a PSA 10. Let's hope that this doesn't blow the budget. I'm actually still annoyed about that Groudon. I did not think it would be at that price point. That's surprised me. All right, here we go. The raw copy selling for $76. Okay, that's Let's just hope it's not a 5 times increase. Let's see the PSA 10. All right, PSA 10, what are we working with? It is $297. I can't do that either. I actually cannot do that either. Okay, moving on to the next. Now also, when you're buying any Pokemon collectibles, one of the smartest things you can do is track your collection, and the Collector app is the best way to do that, who are the sponsors of today's video. Now, Collector are one of the best ways to completely track and manage your entire collectible portfolio. Now, what's so good about Collector is you can actually set the price that you pay for a specific item, and it will update the prices based on the real-time market. Though Collector actually has much more features. For example, you can do a lot with researching your collectibles. For example, if you're a pro member, you do get access to set analytics. In this section, it provides you with a set's volatility score. It shows you the current top market movers in the set. You can see a card breakdown of all the different rarities, and it even shows you which cards are currently being wishlisted the most. Now also, as a pro member, you also get access to the Max tab. This lets you extend pricing data past the usual 1-year view, and you can also use your phone's camera to just scan cards into the app. Collector is much more than just a price tracker. It's a must-needed tool when collecting Pokemon cards. If you do want to try it out, you can actually find all the details to the Collector app in the video's description. A massive shout out to Collector for always supporting the channel. Now let's jump back into this video. Okay, so the next card I've decided that I want to get a PSA 10 is Hatterene. Now, massive memories with this card because in 2020 and 2021, me and my wife were just always playing Sword and Shield online, and she loved Hatterene. It became her favorite Pokemon. She's such a big fan of it. So I'm like, all right, this one's going to be paying homage to my wife and the wedding ring, if you guys know, because I gained a bit of weight recently, but couldn't fit the wedding ring on. But hey, it fits. We're making progress. That's right. Come on, a bit of win there, right? All right, we're looking at Hatterene. Let's see what we got. Okay, I'm on the rarity right here. Oh yeah, that Trainer Gallery. That's a pretty sick card, man. I think, is that from Crown Zenith? I think it is. Okay, that's cool. You got the VMAX there. Wow, so that's all the cards available. Okay, so out of all those, I think I definitely have to go for the Trainer Gallery. All right, we're looking at this, and we are working with a PSA 10 for $53. Yes, first one on the collection. Very good. See, this is why I collect like this, because it means something to me, right? 53 bucks. I'm so happy with that. That's actually a good price. All right, not too bad there. All right, we are left with $447. Say $450. Like I'm not gonna be that particular with it, but $450 left. Let's see what we can get for this. All right, now that I'm just thinking about that and I'm just looking at it, Crown Zenith does have some sick cards. So I kind of want to see what we can get with Crown Zenith, because look, if that card was 53 bucks, I know the Deoxys and there's some really cool cards in Crown Zenith, and I do reckon it's a bit undervalued right now. Now, by the way, I just want to say, if you have been enjoying the video and you've never been on the channel before, welcome. My name's Phil. I create content around Pokemon cards and Pokemon collectibles. Honestly, feel free to subscribe. It's always great seeing new people on board. So I'm just looking at Crown Zenith here, and obviously we've got some crazy expensive cards here. There's so much to work with when you're working with Crown Zenith. Oh yeah, that one's cool. There we go, Deoxys VMAX. All right, the Deoxys VMAX selling for $58 raw. Oh, this PSA 10 is gonna set me back. PSA 10 selling for $152. That's not too bad either. Hey, I'm gonna add that for sure. Hey, 150 bucks for that. That's gone in the collection. All right, that has left me with $294, $295. I think I need something sealed. And in terms of a booster box, I'm not going to be buying. Should I get Perfect Order booster box? That's probably the only booster box right now that I could afford without completely just wiping out everything. I think Perfect Order, from what I know. All right, Perfect Order right now, there you go, selling for $206. Okay, so if I did that, I'd be left with around 90 bucks. So should I do that as a sealed? See, I'm now thinking, is Perfect Order the best decision here? Yeah, 200. I'm going to just be pausing Perfect Order for right now. Alrighty, Ascended Heroes regular Elite Trainer box is right now selling for $148. Honestly, I think that's kind of not bad. I actually think for such an in-demand product, looking at the trajectory, yes, reprints can happen, but to be honest, I'm actually thinking for a sealed collection, I want one sealed. It's either the booster bundle or the Elite Trainer box. For me, I like the ETB, so I think that's pretty good at 150 bucks. All right, so I just look at that at 144 bucks. I've got pretty much $145 left to spend after that. So far, it looks like we got the Hatterene, in PSA 10, the Deoxys in PSA 10, and an Ascended Heroes Elite Trainer box. I'm really liking these so far. Love Ascended Heroes, love those two PSA 10 slabs. Now I'm thinking with 145 bucks, I would like to get a single and definitely a single that I think can appreciate over time and one that I love of a Pokemon. And I'd like it to not just be I'd like it to be a pretty high quality single as well. Like a one that's definitely not exactly like a cheaper single, something cool. All right, one set that I actually think is pretty underrated and some really sick singles, man, is Black Bolt and White Flare. Just looking at Black Bolt so far, and the Seismitoad's actually, I actually really like that card too. Just checking out some of the special illustration rares. Oh yeah, okay, we got the, yeah. Oh, wow. Dude, that Lilligant's sick. Wow, I did not know how nice that illustration rare is. Did I just find like a hidden gem just sitting there? Right now selling for $31 too. Damn, that is a nice card. Man, I didn't expect that. Well, okay, actually, that has to enter the collection. That is absolutely gorgeous. I didn't even expect that. That Lilligant is absolutely crazy. All right, that leaves me with around $113, $115. Let's see what we got. Let's keep going, but with $115, maybe I can end it with a really, really cool single. I think actually now that I'm thinking about it with that, I've kind of come to the decision with $113, and this is just my own vibe of like, I can see the illustration rares and how they're performing, like the Squirtle, the Bulbasaur, Charmander, all of those, even the 151. I'm actually thinking the first partner illustration rares, I think I'll be able to actually fit that in with 113 bucks. So here we go. I'm on the Charmander, and that is currently selling for 34 US. That's actually not too bad. All right, so Charmander is 34. Looking at the Squirtle right now, Squirtle selling for 30 bucks. Okay, so that's looking like pretty much in budget as well. Let's check that out. And just looking at the Bulbasaur selling for $25. All right, so that's actually leaving me with $23 to spend. And this is when it gets really fun because you can actually buy a few little cards with this. Okay, the cards that I want, I'm just looking at this for 23 bucks. Look at that, man. The Oricorio is selling for 11 bucks. Special illustration rare, Shinji Kana artwork. I could pretty much get 2 of those right now and that would fit within the budget. I'm just thinking, should I buy 2 of those or just one? I'm gonna just buy, you know what actually that I've been thinking? I wouldn't mind picking up a Sword and Shield alternate art, and I actually think I could actually get the SIR and an alternate art. So I went back to it, I'm deciding that I'm gonna buy that one. It's 12 bucks, the Oricorio special illustration rare. And that leaves me with $11, which I actually think I'm gonna try get a Sword and Shield alternate art from that. I don't know if this is possible, but let's see what we can get. I do know the Sandaconda was super cheap. Let's see what else there is. All right, I'm just looking at the 4 alternate arts that do fit in the budget, which is the Conkeldurr V, which is the cheapest one. Then you got the Sandaconda V, Guntank V, and the Honchkrow V. Looking at this now, I think definitely we're going with the Honchkrow V, which is 100% the final piece of the puzzle, and that is looking like the best way that I have spent the $500. So just looking at that, and that was pretty crazy. So we did manage with $500 to get 2 PSA 10s. We got the Hatterene for 53 USD and the Deoxys VMAX as well for $153. Really cool card there. We got the Ascended Heroes Elite Trainer Box, the regular version for $150. We also bought the first partner trios. For all 3 of them, we were able to get as singles, which is really cool. Also bought the Oricorio special illustration rare for $12, which I think is pretty undervalued, to be honest. And finally, we got the Honchkrow V alternate art from the Sword and Shield era, a very, very hard card to pull. So these are much more rare than illustration rares, and they're pretty undervalued, some of these as well. Really cool little alt art from Brilliant Stars. With $500, you can either get 1 really awesome card or you can get a few, but at least with this, I was able to get 2 PSA 10 slabs, sealed product, and a few singles as well on the way. Now, the thing is, the price of the Pokemon hobby has been pretty insane recently, and I think learning to collect with a budget in mind is very important right now. And there's actually some really cool budget tips that every collector should be considering right now. And if you do want to know what those are, I do reveal those budget tips in this video on screen here. Within this video, I go into the importance of collecting on a budget. I provide some practical tips. If you do enjoy this video, you're going to love the next one. I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.